I want to ask a very serious question. This is a question that's been on my mind for many years, since many decades, ever since I was in my teenage years, my 20s, my 30s, and even in my 40s, my late 40s. It's a question that constantly comes to the forefront of my mind, and it's the question of, can men and women be friends? Is it possible for men and women to be just friends? And I believe the answer is yes, but it can also, even though that answer is yes, it depends upon the two people's mentality, their maturity, their mindset, their worldview. I think when we use the word friends, we throw that term around too loosely. Friends, not everybody who says they're a friend is a friend. I'm very leery of people that gotta constantly remind other people that they are so and so friend. If you gotta remind somebody that you're somebody's friend all the time, that's a red flag to me, in my opinion. But I think, as one preacher said, he has many acquaintances, but very few friends. And I think that can be the identity of a lot of us as well. That could be the sentiment of a lot of us as well. Many acquaintances, many people that we're cordial with, but not really people who we are friend. The Bible says that a friend sticks closer than a brother, and the Bible also says that a friend is built for adversity. So when adversity comes, whether it be personal or in a relationship, friends should stick with each other. Okay, so with that being said, we have many acquaintances. We have many people that we're cordial with. We use that term. We call people friends, or we think people are our friend, and especially in the culture of fakeness. And what I mean by that is we're living in a culture of fakeness. Fake is the new real. Being fake is the new real, so to speak. We hear the terms "fake it till you make it," right? So being fake, unfortunately, is rewarded, is promoted, is applauded in some ways, and people could pretend to be nice. They could pretend to have your best interest in mind. They could say the right things. But again, when certain things come about, you're going to see what these relationships are made of. You're going to see what these relationships are made of. And with that being said, I think that men and women can be friends, but there has to be some parameters and some boundaries that need to be put in place and established. For me personally, I don't think it's wise to build an emotional attachment with a woman, or build a physical attachment with a person who you have no intent on being romantically involved with, And I think that, once we start building these unhealthy emotional attachments with people we have no desire, or sometimes we build emotional attachments with people that we assume that this is the way it's going to be. Eventually they're going to come around. Eventually she's going to come around. No, we're playing the guessing game, and with God, we don't have to play that guessing game. I believe in being friends with the opposite sex, we have to be straightforward. We have to be upfront about our intentions. Now, here's something that's interesting. There's many marriages today who started out just being friends, and as time went on, as they begin to know each other and spend time with each other, that relationship materialized into romantic, and then they got married and happily ever after. There are many marriages have formed because of just being friends. They wasn't attracted to each other at first. They wasn't trying to date or nothing like that. They just became friends, and the relationship materialized into what became marriage, and that's a wonderful thing. So I think that we can't. I think in some aspects, some people become friendly with each other. They become friends, and they think that just because they're friendly with each other, they should just be romantic. Or some people are romantic first without really being friends first. And I think there's a balance in the two. But every relationship is different. Every relationship has its measure of success. Okay. I want to talk about physical attraction. Well, that's important. Physical attraction is important in a relationship, no doubt, is important. But I think what's more important, you can have the physical attributes, the physical attraction, but I think what supersedes that is the character. Physical attraction is important. I don't think anybody will mess with somebody who they're not attracted to in some sense, right? But character is more important. Sometimes in these men and women relationships, sometimes people feel they only could be friends with people who meet their criteria. Sometimes it's a shallow criteria. I only could be friends with a guy if he's rich, or I only could be friends with a female if she has physical attributes, physical attributes that appeals to me, or they come from a Republican or conservative type of family environment or upbringing, or they come from wealth, or they come from an affluent neighborhood. Or we have all these shallow views on people, and how we decide we're going to accept them or reject them, you know? And I think ultimately it's really about character. Are we willing to allow character to take form and shine through? Okay. And in my personal experience, and I say this because it's kind of interesting that I say this, we got to be very careful in how we treat people. Just because someone isn't our type, just because someone doesn't come from our background, just because somebody doesn't measure up to our criteria of what we may find to be attractive, doesn't mean we treat people bad because they're not our type. And sometimes we can ghost people, sometimes we can ignore people, sometimes we can reject people, not because we're not interested in them, but because of their ethnicity or their background, or their physical looks, or whatever. We have all this shallowness of why we would reject somebody. And I say all that to say this because oftentimes, and as a man, in dealing with women, I'm not here to knock women, I'm not here to bash women, but as dealing with women, sometimes I feel that in my experience, when you have women who, if you talk to them, or you send them a personal message on any social media outlet, or you text them, sometimes they won't reply to you. Sometimes they ignore you, they'll ghost you, because they may feel that by doing so, they may feel in their mind, they may have an assumption that you're trying to hit on them, or you're trying to get with them, or you're trying to get some action, if you know what I mean. And that may not be the case. Just because anyone, a man or a woman, talks to somebody of the opposite sex, does not mean that they're trying to get with that person in any sense. Doesn't mean they're attracted to that person. And I'm gonna say something about attraction. You could be attracted to somebody, doesn't mean you're gonna pursue that person. I've been attracted to a lot of women, and I knew the reality that I could not get in a relationship with that person. So I'm not gonna let that attraction deceive me into thinking that I'm gonna have a chance with that person when I know I'm not. I could be attracted to a celebrity, but I know that celebrity's not going to get with me. I know that's not going to happen. So I don't sit there and daydream and wonder and plot and scheme on how to get with this individual. No, I don't. So the reality of it is basically you could be attracted to somebody, and sometimes in being attracted to a person of the opposite sex, you may try to gauge some kind of information to see what this person's all about. And then you'll come to realize that, sometimes in the person that you may be interested in, as you get to know that individual, you may begin to realize as time goes on, as you get to know that person, you may begin to realize, hey, we're better off friends than really being in a romantic relationship. And then sometimes who knows how that relationship may materialize down the road. But, just because somebody's not our type, or we're not attracted to somebody, doesn't give us the right or the reason to disrespect that person. And I believe some people, because they're narcissistic and they have an ego, they love to mislead people. They love to give people the false impression that, hey, I'm interested, or, they like to, sometimes the woman will wink at you, or the guy will flirt with you, whatever. They give you that impression that they're interested, and that, hey, you have a shot, and knowing that deep down inside, you don't have a shot. So people love to play games. But as mature men and women, the only games I want to play, if I do play games, is maybe a board game or a video game, or go out on the basketball court and play a couple of games of 21. That's the only games I want to play. But as far as playing games with people, no. The Bible tells us, do unto others as you want others to do unto you. The golden rule. The Bible says, if you want to do well, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Lying and misleading and deceiving people, or mistreating somebody based upon whatever, ignoring them and stuff like that, ghosting them. Now, I've said this before. If it comes to the point that a person likes you and they're telling you that they have interest in you and you don't have interest in them, then we need to be straightforward and honest about it and say, hey, no disrespect, not interested, whatever. Now, if somebody is told that an individual is not interested in them, they keep pushing it, then there's an issue there. There's a problem there. And that is totally wrong. But just want to close out and say a few things, So yeah, we need to be upfront and honest with people. And if they ever approach us about that, and here's something. Don't assume just because somebody talks to you or somebody texts you. Obviously, if somebody texts you, and they didn't look for your number in the yellow page, it's obvious you gave it to them, or they hit you up on social media. Doesn't mean they're trying to get with you. And I know sometimes I feel that way with people where especially with the opposite sex, if you send them a request on Facebook, if you send them a request, and these people, they'll face to face, if you work with them or you know them from whatever, they'll talk to you and they'll communicate with you, and you'll break bread and have a conversation. But when it comes to social media, they don't want you, I guess for whatever reason, they don't want you on their social media page, even though they have other people that you network on their page. But it could be that they may have this idea or this mindset that if you're sending them messages, if you're sending them text messages, if you're requesting them on Instagram or whatever, they may have this idea that you're trying to hit on them. And that's, where does that sound? That's the reality of it sometimes. But I'll say this, as far as me personally, if you text somebody and they don't reply to your text message one time, okay, maybe text them a second time, because we get busy, we get tied up. But if they don't reply the second time, then I would leave it alone. I wouldn't text them no more. I wouldn't reach out to them no more. I would just leave it alone. If they have no explanation for why they ghost you, that's the clear indication of how they feel towards you. I remember not that long ago, I text somebody, a woman, not young, but I texted a woman one time. Nothing crazy, but just something that we had a conversation about, and I wanted to thank her for her support, whatever, and some other things. And this lady basically told me that she got my text message, but she showed the guy that she was with my text message. Instead of taking, she found the time to show the person that she was with, for some weird reason, my text message, but had not the decency to reply back to me, even though she said she was thinking about it. But again, this is the craziness that we see sometimes within our society. So I would just say, men and women could be friends. They could be just friends. But again, it's based upon the person's or the people's mentality, perspective, and maturity. And that's all I got to say for this video. Until next time, everyone be good.